Put me in, coach. So Sivir and Hecarim. Also on the hunt, gonna help Hecarim too, of course. Just Sivir's ultimate. I don't know who it doesn't synergize with. I mean, extra mobility just helps everyone in the game in one way or another. It's never not helpful. Like, the only time you waste the Sivir's ult, if Sivir ult is if you ult alone. And, like, when you're not exactly going anywhere emergent. Like, if you ult on your way back to lane when there's nobody there. That's, like, the only time you can really say it was a true waste of Sivir's ultimate. Otherwise, it will always help someone somewhere. All right, well, now that Hecarim's been selected, I think the Sion is fine. Like, if you weren't going to prioritize Hecarim anyway, Sion's okay against Hecarim. Of course, Sion got a slight nerf in 5.8. But, you know, not to a point where if you're a good Sion player, it's going to completely, you know, destroy your pick. He still has all the merits that he had beforehand. And so Sion will be locked in for that top lane against Hecarim. So the top lane matchup seems to be confirmed at this point. Meanwhile, since Thresh is taken away, Wraith looking at bringing back the Alistar. He played pretty well against Prime with that. And then the Nunu also coming back for Samsung. So this is all on Fury once again in QV. Cassipian and Azir both banned out, so LeBlanc is available here for Candy to play if he wants in that mid lane. Not his favorite champions. His favorite champions among the likes of Victor, Cassiopeia, and Lissandra, so a little bit more mage-based. And looking at Ahri, though, kind of the go-to for a lot of Korean mids, along with LeBlanc for mids everywhere around the world. And Draven, wouldn't expect that. Maybe Jinx, I can see that. I mean, yeah, against a Hecarim and an Alistar, it can be dangerous, but you have the Thresh there, and then at the very least, the enemy jungler is not someone who has a gap closer and then has hard CC. I mean, sure, once you get caught by a Nunu, you can pretty much say goodbye as Jinx, but I mean, if there are other enemies there for damage. But my point is, it's not like a Rek'Sai, it's not like Gragas who can stun you with a gap closer before you can put your traps under them. Now Kassadin being hovered over once again. Now Ace. All right. You gonna play Kassadin? I mean, Ace has talked about how confident he is on Kassadin before when he first came onto the Samsung team. So that is locked in against that LeBlanc. It's a battle of mid lane pride here. LeBlanc versus Kassadin between Candy and Ace on XENICS and Samsung respectively. Sion versus Hecarim up top. And then we got Sejuani and Nunu. Pretty common matchup once we see Gragas and Rek'Sai being banned out these days. And then the Jinx coming out for Lunar. XENICS has some potential to really snowball the game a little out of control. But at the same time, so does Samsung simply because of Kassadin and then Hecarim. But on XENICS, both Jinx and LeBlanc, if both of them get rolling right away, then that can spell a lot of trouble here for a Samsung. And that'll be pretty difficult. Lunar has been priding himself as, I think I'm the best AD carry here for the promotion tournament. We haven't quite seen that yet. I mean, part of it just because their team lost. But we'll see. He says his goal is to join the regular season and then prove that he's Korea's best AD carry. I don't know, all these AD carries with big words. We saw Gank Zero yesterday. Some people asking if he can be the new Deft, and then he didn't even qualify for the regular season of Champions Summer 2015. So we'll see if Lunar can have a little bit more meat to his words. But let's jump right into set number 2 as the game is ready, ladies and gentlemen, between XENICS and Samsung. All right, and hello, QV. Can he get the death sentence? Nope. The invade coming in. And they're just going to get some wards down and some vision probably. At the same time, Eve said, all right, well, if they're going to go up through the top side, I'm going to go in through the middle. And then he's like, actually, I'm here all alone, so I'm just going to back off. And I think that's smart of XENICS to also just back off after the invade. It's a Nunu, so like starting at the enemy red is not, like you're not going to get a huge advantage. Especially because Eve might start at your blue and then go to your red. And then go to his blue. I mean, just Nunu, you don't want to be too crazy with the jungle Nunu, against the jungle Nunu, because he can be just as crazy on his own without teammates when it comes to camps. And looks like a lane swap coming in from Samsung. Fury was spotted by that ward, but yeah, they're just all going to be spotted. And they saw Nunu on the top side too, so we are... Oh, but we're not going to see Shaft start on his blue anyway. XENICS is going to follow suit and match that 2v2 though, because of course they want it with Jinx and Thresh. They want that 2v2 matchup. Whereas Sion is just going to be Sion. Brown being taken by Lunar and TML. Kakarot just going to finish off that camp there. And then he'll go back to lane in the bottom lane, because Cuvée also came with Smite. So Kakarot just saying, you know, I just want to even things out here. So Kakarot said, his quote is, live like Flame, play like Impact. Not really, I get the whole play like Impact part. You know, kind of be the Rock, right? Impact was known as the Rock of SKT. But I'm not really sure what to think of the whole live like Flame part. I mean, if you want to also shower in bottled water all the time, like that's cool. You know, you do your thing, whatever floats your boat, right? If bottled water floats your boat, let it float. But if that's your motto for life, I don't know. I do wonder about your other priorities at the same time. Meanwhile, we saw Eve being just as annoying as any Nunu player should be. And TML going in with the Flay, but nice headbutt from Wraith. The trap's not connecting right away. The exhaust onto Fury. Death Sentence being shielded by the spell shield. Fury really waiting for the last minute to make sure that he can avoid that hard CC coming in from Thresh. Well played by the Samsung bottom duo that is now in top. Sejuani's still there because they saw Eve run through and then leave. So Shaft trying to see if he can get another angle here, but the lane's pushed up, so yeah, you might as well go back because you're going to lose so much time off of that. And Cuvée is just like, all right, well, I'm going to shove through and then just keep jungling anyway because my jungler is in the enemy jungle. I remember the days when having double smite on a team was considered trolling no matter what. And here we are today when it's really common. Not as much anymore as it was when it was first popularized in the spring season by various regions, but still there. Eve hanging around. Did some damage to the enemy jungle. Hasn't gone back home, so trying to see if he can get some advantage here. But again, for Nunu, your ganks aren't going to be the scariest part. I mean, with an Alistar or something like that, sure, you can lead it into infinite snowballs, but aside from that, you're not going to want to invest too much time in camping a lane unless you need a lot of help. Ace using his shield really well to try to trade, but he is running a little bit lower on mana. Of course, Candy changing his health pots into biscuits with Metallurgy and having that advantage with mana here in trades. Ace simply relying on his skills and his flask for the mana in lane. And as I continue to blow my nose during this tournament, nothing interesting happened. We're looking at, all right, Shaft hasn't really been able to do too much either. Had gone back home earlier, gonna go back home again to get a couple more wards. Ruby Crystal. Ace is now completely dry on mana. but Shaft is nowhere nearby, so it's not going to matter. He still has Flash too. He's not level 6, so it's not like he lost his escape with lack of mana. But it does mean that he's not going to trade as often anymore, but he's okay with that because he already traded more efficiently against Candy. So he's ahead in health. And now if he's the one who always chooses when to trade, then he can continue to stay ahead in health because he gets a shield every time he trades. Meanwhile, Wraith trying to zone out Lunar. The XENICS lane is pushing a little bit on top. Both mid laners are level 6. Nice damage coming in from Candy. He realizes, all right, well, Ace is kind of low on mana. I need to try to get an advantage here, but he takes some damage from the minions, and Shaft and Eve are going to run into each other, and they're both going to back off. And Fury is pretty low, but there's a headbutt back into the tower onto TML, but Fury too scared to chase through on that damage with Lunar sitting back. So both sides just kind of chill out after that trade. No one used summoners in the 2v2. Meanwhile, mid lane, both champions are even on CS, and Ace is fine with that. LeBlanc didn't get a kill, so Cassidy just doing his job. And of course, the bottom 1v1's been a similar story here. Juve a little bit ahead, but that's also because he can just jungle camps after he pushes up a lane. Juve also has the Gromp passive on him, so he can win trades too, much more easily. He has a Skirmisher's Saber too, so that helps. Looks like Candy may be looking to help out that bottom lane then. Or just getting wards on Dragon, because it is a Nunu on the other side. Good awareness from him. Candy's still trying to trade. He actually gets the chain onto Ace as TML shows up, but Candy takes some damage, and TML was spotted by a ward. He also walked into lane, so he's going to back off. Ace is going to pick up his blue off of Eve. And Samsung swapping the lanes back, adding a little bit more pressure towards that bottom lane, because Hecarim has been doing just fine, got the Ninja Tabby, and this also allows Eve to have a little bit more space while he dragons. So Samsung doing this seamlessly. Of course, there is a ward there, but who's there to stop it? You do have LeBlanc coming down, but Ace is prepared to move down first. TML showing up, but no damage follow through from there. Shaft, his ult is probably the only chance. Okay, he can't try to go Lantern in. He's not going to get it. The rocket a little bit late from Lunar. And then Eve instantly smiting that off and getting the dragon. But Shaft had the right idea. You know, you go in with the Arctic Assault, you come back out with a Lantern after you try to smite. He just couldn't get it as Eve was a little bit too quick on that one. And precise. Now, Samsung is still just really quiet. You know, I do want to mention that, so when Samsung won before, like, or when they looked like they could win certain games during the regular season, is that it was when they like really shined with their individual talent or their neat little picks like the Syndra support and things like that. But today, so yesterday, Longzhu IM like dominated their games. It was just a domination on all 4 games. Whereas Samsung today, I wouldn't say is as dominating, but at the same time, this is what I've been saying all day, is that they're showing that they have grown as a team. Wraith gets caught back a little bit. Actually, he's going to get snared for the traps. The slow going to go down on him. The exhaust on Lunar is going to deny a lot of that damage alongside Alistar's ultimate. There's the Arctic Assault, though, forcing the flash out from Wraith. So they blow a lot of summoners and spells off of Wraith. And Ace, meanwhile, is going to get traded by Candy as he blinks backward. Oh, he'll still go down to the Ignite and the minion hits, though. And Candy actually had to use his flash to try to live at the very end, but still died. So Ace, I think, is okay with that trade. Sure, Candy can start snowballing that too, but here comes the Scion ultimate, and there goes the Fury. Goodbye, Fury. So they chase him off, which means they'll probably just shove in this tower. Kakarot did just show up in lane by walking down here after going home, so he's just going to teleport back up top to save his own tower. Tier 1 in the top lane. Eve taking this chance to steal the blue, though. So LeBlanc's not going to get her blue while Castan already has his. So that's another advantage that Samsung has in the mid lane. But with the first tower going to XENICS, they will have a slight gold lead. And Candy's not going to be too happy. Candy versus Ace, the battle of the assassins. Meanwhile, Eve also smiting the wolf here to provide more vision in that enemy jungle for both Cuvée and Ace. The top side of the map. Yeah, and at this point, Ace can continue to just trade more efficiently against Candy here. He's also just building health because that's what you do. He has a shield on his Noosphere. There's just a lot. Shaft has literally nothing to farm here. I guess the Grom's waiting there for him. Eve is about a level ahead, maybe a little bit more. Candy's already at half health. He's trying to chase through with some extra damage, but it almost feels like a little bit of a desperation from Candy, right? It's like, no, I will not accept that I've lost out on health. And Ace is like, yes, you will, because I'm going to keep bringing you down lower and lower. Candy's in a lot of danger here. I mean, sure, both Ignites are down, and that's a little comforting to know that Ace can't just completely all-in you, but he is Kassadin. He can just jump in and burst you down once you get really low. Ace also has his flash, so he could dive the tower too if that's what it takes. Meanwhile, up top has been pretty quiet. Cuvé's actually just been able to continuously farm very safely. Bottom lane's also been really quiet. Both sides just farming quietly. Both supports going for that side zone, and nothing too crazy from there. TML and Shaft both waiting here in the mid lane because Candy needs some help, but it is a Kassadin that you're trying to catch. Ace takes some extra damage this time, but Candy's still lower, and Candy's just squishier in general, you know, because she's not building health, or he's not building health. I guess the player himself is male, so I can say the champion is female. And Fury showing up after Samsung lost their bottom tier 1 just to help shove it in. Candy is at half health. There's Wraith and Eve also. Kakarot coming in with a Scion ultimate, but yeah, it's not really going to connect to anything. I think it was really just to save that tier 1 because it looked like Samsung might continue pressuring that to no end. And they're going to go at it again as we see Shaft, TML, and Lunar show up from the bottom lane for XENICS. It is already at half health, but yeah, it's Sivir, not Jinx, on the side of Samsung, so they're not going to be able to clear that tower from afar. And global goal now equal for both teams, so XENICS losing out a little bit of that advantage that they had from pushing down the tier 1 at bottom. Dragon up in a minute, and Cuvée finishing his Cinderhulk up top. Kassadin, is he able to get his ROA when he goes back this time? I feel like he should be able to. Soon as he lands home. Yep, there it is. Finishes his ROA at 13 minutes. A little bit over 13 minutes, but that's just about good timing. And he'll have that combination, you know, extra stats there from that item for the next dragon fight. Will Fury have an item finished is another big question. He also doesn't have boots, while Lunar chose to get upgraded boots in the middle of his way to the Infinity's Edge. And Samsung just needs to kind of hold on to this tower, get a little bit of vision, and then go towards Dragon. Yeah, they just shoved in the bottom lane too, so XENICS is scurrying down there to try to get that XP. It is going to be Candy on that LeBlanc going in to soak it in, as you do need to defend that middle tier 1 also. Otherwise, Samsung could instantly just turn things around in mid lane and pressure Candy out of that area. So XENICS just kind of responding to Samsung's movements, and Samsung still has a bit of an advantage in terms of vision. They also just have the Nunu for this dragon. They're going to leash it first. And looks like they're going to commit to it. Hecarim already teleporting far behind though, so on the hunt coming through. And, oh wow, Cuvée dodges the flay just in time and then goes back in with Onslaught of Shadows. Cuvée wanted to perfect that gank. He didn't take any chances. Even if he got flayed, he still had Onslaught of Shadows. But my goodness, that reaction of just baiting out the flay to make sure that he gets full damage from his increased movement speed. Really impressive. And Samsung will cleanly take that second dragon. Now with all 5 of them here, will they just continue pressuring mid lane? Hecarim's and Sivir's ultimate are down. Absolute Zero's still there though. Sejuani also lost her ult in that last fight. Wraith can go in with his. So I don't think XENICS wants to commit too hard into trying to harass here in this mid lane. it could get dangerous. And so, yeah, they're just going to back off. XENICS not looking for a fight that could lead into a dive or anything crazy like that. Cassinan, of course, doesn't have flash anymore, but can jump in and out as long as he's not super targeted. He's going to just hop away from that death sentence. And so XENICS is just trying to bank on the fact that Samsung doesn't have a couple of their ultimates, but yeah, you're not going to really turn that into any fruition. So they're going to disperse back into their lanes where they can just at least gather up on experience and try to tie up on that. Kakarot right now down 1 level, a couple other levels behind here and there too on the side of XENICS, so they really want to try to stay on top of that and stay on par in terms of experience in this game. And Fury, he should be able to finish his Infinity's Edge once he goes home this time around. I'm sure he already has enough gold for it. Lunar finished hers, or his. I don't know why I suddenly get confused about whether to call the pronouns for the champions or the players, but that's where I am after being halfway done with today's solo cast. QV gonna go home. What item? Oh, I guess he'll just finish his phage, probably. Frozen Heart finished by Kakarot, but that means Ace can still do a lot of damage to him. I mean, sure, he has a lot of health, but... Oh, QV has nowhere near the gold, I guess, to finish the phage, so... I was overestimating his gold-digging powers. And LeBlanc is not too relevant right now. Yeah, I mean... Oh, nice spell shield, too. Again, it's like in any case where you pick LeBlanc, and I think... So... I don't know, I felt the same way at MSI Finals where I understand why Faker picked LeBlanc. Oh, wow, Candy gets shut down by Wraith. Wraith was so ready for that. And Candy trying to fake them out. He eventually flashes away. Shaft trying to zone out for him, and Candy will eventually live. But Wraith with some quick reactions. Eve gets caught by the death sentence. Not going to connect to the choppers from Jinx. But Samsung is going to shove Candy out of lane. Can they try to push through? No, Lunar on Jinx is going to make sure that doesn't happen. But Wraith's really quick on that. And what I was seeing was at the MSI... Oh, wow, the flash forward. They try to get Fury. He dodges all the ultimates, all the skill shots. Fury, I mean, if he got caught by Sejuani's ult, he would have guaranteed also been caught by Jinx's ult, and he would have died. But, man, also by the death sentence, too. So... Nice dodges by Fury. Now let me get back to what I was saying. So at the MSI Finals, Faker picking LeBlanc, I can think of many reasons that aren't strictly strategic for him to pick that, and I can agree with that from SKT's perspective. Of course, EDG came in with a very specific composition prepared for Faker's LeBlanc and just to shut it down. That's a bit of a niche case, but in general, there's a reason why Faker was not that popular in the current meta, and it's because when you have so many bruisers or bruiser types running around and Sivir is popular as an AD carry, it's so hard for LeBlanc to just shine as a hyper carry. Back in the day, when you think about all the highlights of Faker just like hard carrying when he first showed us his LeBlanc and other players too, it's when things like support Zyra were popular in the meta, where at bare minimum you knew you could just stomp all over the enemy support at bare minimum. And then usually also the opponent's mid laner and maybe their jungler and or AD carry. I mean, you can always try to stomp their AD carry, but that depends on the team comp in general. So these days, you don't see that, right? Every jungler is building very tank heavy. Every top laner is building very tank heavy. We're seeing mid laners who, well, first of all, mid laners eventually will build Zhonya's at one point or another. And we're seeing them either have a lot of a range advantage or build a little bit of defense, like we're seeing with Cassinan with the Rod of Ages. We're seeing Sivir with the Spell Shield. It basically, when can you guarantee, like you can't guarantee that during the pick ban phase that you will find a target on the enemy team. And if you can't feed yourself off of one person continuously, then the game gets a little bit too complicated for it to be worth it to play LeBlanc in the current meta, in my opinion. So that's why I can still understand if you like wait and then you last pick LeBlanc, depending on how the picks went through, or if you have, I mean, so I guess you have Jinx as a different hyper carry. So there's that merit for XENICS's picks and bans. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It's not first pick material in my opinion. In any case, even SKT generally, even with Faker, even when they were winning with 13-0 record for Faker, they oftentimes wouldn't just like first pick it blindly. Well, not always. Let's put it that way. So I can understand that maybe as a mid laner you're super confident, but I don't really agree with that being a first pick material for any player and or team. Especially when you're seen as the one challenging upwards here against Samsung. And so the next dragon is up. XENICS doesn't want to give this one up. They want to try to catch up here. Fury is going to not get hit, let alone also have a spell shield there. So the other thing that LeBlanc can do then, if you can't kill them, at least bring someone down below half health so that they have to go home, right? That's how you used to play LeBlanc in the other metas too, is that if you couldn't kill the support, bring someone down to half health. And that's why things like LeBlanc, Caitlyn were really good combos, because then Caitlyn could finish them off with ace in the hole. Here comes the teleport. Nice double knockup by Wraith. He sends one back. Shaft gets caught by the Absolute Zero. He's slowed. Fury continuing to chase. Here comes QV. Onslaught of Shadows. Lunar flashes out. Candy is just going to be ignored as QV comes back to help secure the kill, because here comes Kakarot and helps pick off Fury from behind. Ace was zoned out for half health. There's the ultimate from Jinx. Not going to do too much damage. QV basically trying to zone out Sion for his teammates as Candy and Lunar try to show up for cleanup, but Lunar also needs to watch out. Candy a little bit low on mana, flashes forward, but the chain not going to connect, and he's also going to dodge Ace with his distortion backwards. I was focusing a little bit too much on QV and didn't catch exactly what happened to Fury, but it looks like Kakarot and Shaft basically just cornered him in and picked him off along with Candy, I think. No, Candy, that's the kill he had earlier in that mid lane trade. So yeah, it was just Shaft and Kakarot getting that kill. And now the dragon is still up, so both sides could try to fight for it, but considering Nunu's here first and Nunu's on the side of Samsung, I'm going to give credit to Samsung here for most likely taking this dragon. Sivir is also already here, ward down across the wall. They should be able to do it decently quickly, yeah. Shaft can still go for a Lantern Steal if he wants, but it doesn't look like they want to commit to that too much. It's too risky, because if he gets caught here, it definitely leads into a tier 1. So they try to say, all right, let's take our own tower here against Samsung in mid, but QV holding the fort pretty well in mid lane, waiting for his teammates to show up. Meanwhile, Candy trying to burst down Eve, but not going to happen. But they catch QV with a death sentence. A nice double knockup coming in from Sion. Candy still at decent health. Eve gets hit by the Super Mega Death Rocket on Lunar, and XENICS will be able to transition that into a tower here in mid lane, bringing the game still to a pretty close call here. Samsung does have the great advantage of 3 dragon stacks against XENICS, but XENICS with a nice death sentence onto QV was able to secure a tower for themselves and even the tower score out, bring the gold gap a little bit closer than it was before. And Lunar, he didn't get the kill this time, but he has no deaths either, and he's starting to just slur all my words here, and he is farming a lot, and they're sending him to farm all the leftover CS here and there. So I do think that Samsung does have to watch out. I mean, Jinx is, wow, excuse me, Jinx is one of those champions that if they're left alive, like, they will carry the game late game. It's like the old Tristana. It's like a hyper version of Tristana. And so now that we're on, not on break, but we have a little bit of a pause in action. I don't know about anyone else, but having lived with allergies my whole life, so many times have I thought that it would be so great if I could just like pull off my nose, kind of like Mr. Potato Head. It's like pull it off, clean your nose under a faucet, and plug it back in. That'd be so great. But obviously I can't do that. It's pretty sad. Also, then other people would pull off my nose and hide it like they do with Mr. Potato Head. And that'd be really mean. So I guess I'm pretty thankful. I'll choose the lesser of the evils here. Jinx at 9,200 gold, 001. 1,000 gold ahead of Fury, and in general, just more carry potential between the champions of Jinx and Sivir. is going to finish that last Whisper sometime soon. Hey, so here's another note. Not only are they're only ahead by about, what, a little less than 1,000 gold, but the reason you can see that Samsung has more experience playing the bigger picture here is that all of their trinkets are upgraded. Every single one of them. You got extra wards coming in from Fury, Ace, and Cuve. Then you have Eve and Wraith with the upgraded lens, the Oracle lens. And basically they understand that that small advantage for 250 gold provides so much extra vision control in the game that they can really set the pace starting 20 minutes. I think that makes a big difference in how teams play, and I think that's a really good indicator of how you see the game. I mean, yeah, if you're playing catch-up, when you upgrade that is a much trickier question, but at this point in time, when you're only about, you know, when the towers are fairly similar too, sure, Samsung has the dragons, but the point is the gold is similar too. And XENICS could have had all the chances they wanted to upgrade their trinkets too. It's only 250 gold. Only Kakarot, actually, though. Oh, no. Okay, we also have TML, who has it upgraded. I was going to say, if no one upgraded their lens, that'd be pretty dangerous. But we do have at least TML with that. Lunar going for the sweeper, too. Or not the sweeper, the scrying orb, rather. All of them technically sweep, so. And Candy's still a bit of a low impact LeBlanc, as I discussed earlier. I'm not sure if it'll really change, but again, you don't have to get the kills to really be impactful at some point, especially when you have a Jinx. If you bring someone down pretty low that Lunar can start getting excited with his passive, then that's all you need. Shaft trying to secure vision around that Baron. Again, when there's a Nunu, you just always have to be super scared of all your jungle objectives. And you also want to clear out all the wards because Cuve has been charging in with Home Guard off his teleports pretty efficiently for Samsung. The next dragon up in a minute. All right, if this one goes to Samsung, it's like regardless of gold advantage, once you get to 4, it's not even the buff you get, it's the fact that the next one gives 5, right? That's the biggest threat, is that Samsung can basically threaten to suddenly snowball the lead so hard with one extra dragon. I mean, yeah, the 4th buff is really good too, and in general, all the buffs, once they add on to each other, it means a lot. But when it gets to 4, it's because the next dragon suddenly jumps up like 3-fold in terms of, or 10-fold even, in terms of importance and priority and defending it, that it suddenly makes the team who's losing on Dragon Stacks look a little desperate, because it's like, well, we need to block this. Like, we can't simply let it go. You can't, and that gives Samsung the power to force trades in objectives. So this is why starting at 3, you almost want to treat it as the same situation, because otherwise you won't even have a choice in treating it that way. It will just be a fact that you can't give up the next dragon. So XENICS wants to pressure this, but at the same time, then Samsung with Nunu could quickly just get rid of Baron. So good for XENICS for securing vision around Baron too before they came down here. And now they're all grouping down here. Sion walking down, although he does have teleport. If he can set up a good ultimate, it could change things here. Ace does have quite a bit in his arsenal though. Not too much damage against Shaft, but that'll be different against Lunar. Here comes Hecarim from behind the Dragon Pit, and there's on the hunt. Ace jumps in, there's Zonius. 3-man knockup as Cuve just goes in and zones out Lunar. Lunar gets killed by Ace as Shaft tries to go zone him out. Ace is caught by the Death Sentence, but he blinks out. The knockup not happening from Sion. Eventually gets killed by Candy, but Candy's super low as he gets finished off by Eve. Wraith and Cuve still wreaking havoc as Fury throws all the boomerangs in his arsenal to help clean up the fight. 4-1 advantage for Samsung in that team fight. And what will Samsung choose to do? The Dragon's still there, but looks like they're going to just go for that Baron. And Fury says, come on, big guy. I mean, uh-oh, Kakarot, where are you going? I guess, okay, he's going to try to do a super play here. And he's just going to get headbutted back out. There's the snowball. I mean, he doesn't have a smite. So all you got to make sure to do is make sure that Fury doesn't get hit too much. You can't all stand behind Baron. That was really dangerous, because if you all stand behind Baron, it's pretty dangerous. Oh, there's a super mega death rocket. And Fury, is he going to die? There's the knockback. There's the snowball. Kakarot still gets the kill. This guy is so tanky. Wow. This guy. I don't know, that it like shouldn't have been that exciting, but he got something done. So props to Kakarot. He's really tanky right now. And that means XENICS will be able to secure the dragon to deny. Oh, never mind. Ace actually got bursted down to half health, but there's Cuvee. Goes in with Onslaught of Shadows. Lunar, is Lunar gonna die? Dragon is also running really low. Sejuani does secure the dragon, but Lunar dies. So does TML. And Shaft now caught in the Dragon Pit. He's going to try to charge forward, but they're blocking the way. Eventually finds an opening, but Ace will follow through. Oh, Candy gets headbutted back. Good play by Wraith. There's a knock-up onto Candy. Kakarot still there at so much health, but Ace coming back forward. The Ace is pretty low, and so is Cuvee. I don't know if they can continue this. Nice absolute zero, and he's going to stop that. Candy going to jump in and stop that, and they have to run away because Kakarot still has so much health. Holy goodness, this Zion. Considering how this game has been going, Kakarot has so much impact, probably much more than you would expect him to. So let's look at this. Oh, this was the earlier fight, it looks like, yeah, where Lunar, look at this, Absolute and everything, but Lunar just gets zoned out by Cuvee and he gets bursted down with the full Home Guard damage. Meanwhile, on the right side, Candy does go back in, gets the kill, but then he's gonna get zoned out. It blinks back in, flashes away from Eve, but can't control both his clone and himself at the same time to try to trick Eve. And eventually Samsung cleans up that team fight that led to the Baron, which also led to Fury's death in the Baron pit by Kakarot. Samsung is a team, not as a Tim. And let alone we don't have a Tim, we have a Tom on SK2. But Samsung is leading about 5k gold now. 3 dragons, and some of them still have the Baron buff. Cuvee showing up, but yeah, like you can't charge it to Kakarot at this point. And Kakarot has a Banshee's Veil for Ace, and then has a Frozen Heart and a Sunfire. So it's going to be a little while before Samsung can really deal with this Ion. I mean, last time I guess if they didn't go for Baron, they could have killed Kakarot, but then Kakarot would have probably just tried to run away. And you wouldn't have gotten Baron. So at the same time, Samsung isn't going to be able to cleanly finish this game yet until they can guarantee that they can deal with the Scion. On the flip side, Luden's Echo now out for Candy on top of his first 2 core items. Still no death cap though. So what we're seeing with a lot of LeBlancs now is that you are really just focusing a lot on that wave clear and just bringing people low, like going somewhat poke. But against things like Alistar, we saw earlier, it can be pretty dangerous. Wraith has really good reaction speed right now, and Candy can get caught out. So, so it can only work. So I can still understand the theory behind it. Since you were picking Jinx, you have a different hard carry to help there, so you can be kind of the sub carry that just lays it out for your AD to pick up all the kills. We haven't really seen that happen yet, though. Only 5 kills total in a 35-minute game for XENICS. And Cuvee taking relatively a lot more damage, simply because Kakarot's not taking any. And so the pony will run away. And Samsung, yeah, continuing to try to get that vision advantage as they push through. They want to pressure all these tier 2s at once. Going for the 1-3-1, but not going to be as effective because Kakarot's going to hold his own really well. LeBlanc with the Luden's Echo will be able to clear waves even more efficiently on top of Distortion. And they've defended all the tier 2s. Baron buff is down for all members of Samsung now. And Ace actually getting caught takes a lot of damage. Kassadin can only trade favorably when he has vision and he can Q at the same time. So well done by Candy. Now, if Samsung gets the next dragon, though, again, it's the same situation as it was before, so XENICS still has to play as if this dragon means everything to them, or at the very least, they need to get, like, 2 objectives if they're going to trade it for free over to Samsung. So it's some tough choices and some tough planning coming in for XENICS. Meanwhile, Cuvee still wants to try to do something to Kakarot Scion, but you simply can't. He has another Chain Vest. I mean, this guy just won't take damage. He refuses to. He also has 301 CS and a lot of that helping add health to his health pool, so Candy going with another blasting wand. Most likely a death cap. Could be a void step, but probably a death cap. On top of that, Abyssal Scepter. So Candy really just going for a lot more AoE, poke damage, wave clear here on that LeBlanc. And then trying to set things up for Lunar. But the Jinx who started 0-0-1 is now 0-2 and 3 and was forced to build a Quicksilver before finishing off her 4th damage item. So that slows down Jinx's damage a little bit, while Fury was able to catch up in terms of core damage items. And it equals out at that BF sword after 3. Candy trying to burst down. Whoa, that is a lot of burst, but so did that Boomerang Blade. It only hit one way. Candy needs to go back home. Candy didn't start at full health, just in case you were wondering. Just in case you can only hear the audio. LeBlanc didn't start at full health. It's not like Boomerang Blade did 60% damage with only one-way hit, but it does hurt a lot once you gather up on that AD. XENICS is still going to play a little bit of a reactionary League of Legends here. And this next dragon is going to be where a lot of things are decided. If XENICS can win this team fight and get their 2nd dragon, that's actually just a lot of hope and a good window of opportunity for XENICS to continue getting the lead and continue getting their vision back. Baron is also up in 20 seconds, so whoever gets this dragon will most likely also get the Baron. And so we're going to see Kakarot just teleporting in early, trying to get the knockup onto Wraith. Wraith is caught out. There's a Death Sentence, but they don't want to waste too much time as QV comes in. There's the Absolute Zero. Fury trying to kite from the outside. Onslaught of Shadows over the wall. They're trying to get down onto Lunar. Lunar is still alive, but eventually Lunar goes down. And here comes the monster Kakarot, trying to survive as long as possible, but where's the damage for XENICS? Nowhere to be seen, as Shaft, Kakarot, and TML the only ones alive. It doesn't matter if Kakarot can live forever, because no one's going to do damage for him on his team, and now he can't live forever when 4 people are on him with no one to help him out. QV going to just push him into the wall, get the kill for Fury, and body blocking for Fury, knocking him back. Well done by Samsung. I mean, the thing here is that QV, for one, has an easier time sticking to Lunar, and Fury started the fight in a better position, way away from Kakarot, and they're also doing double objectives, both Baron and Dragon at the same time, and Samsung should be able to, from here on out, just close out the game. That's 8k lead in terms of gold. They have 4 stacks of Dragon. They have the Baron buff. At this rate, they will most likely get 5 Dragons and then just end the game while they have that buff, and just go over to the inhibitors while they have Baron. So watch this fight. They focus a little bit too much, like, hey, we caught Wraith out, and here comes Eve. He gets onto Lunar. Lunar has to flash over, so then we see Onslaught of Shadows over the wall. Lunar gets zoned out, and where is Fury? Fury's been free to do just damage and kite around. It actually doesn't even matter if he can do damage the whole time, as long as he lives longer than Lunar. He flashes away, still gets frozen by the Glacial Prison, but he still had his front line in front of him. So Fury basically takes safer positioning the whole time. And it's also easier for him to do so with things like Spell Shield, the extra movement speed on the hunt, and QV having Onslaught of Shadows to catch up to Lunar. So while it's all cool and great for LeBlanc to try to set up kills for Lunar alongside his teammates, it's, you know, it only works if Jinx can live long enough, and there's a Hecarim on the other side along with an Alistar and a Nunu. I don't know how you're going to try to get away from that. Using On the Hunt to just quickly push forward while there's no one defending the tower to sneak it in, because your minion wave isn't that big. Smart idea from Fury and the team of Samsung as they get 1 tier 2, and now they can snowball that into a 2nd and maybe a 3rd. Candy goes really low. So does Ace. Candy a little bit lower, but they basically traded as he dove and then secured the tower for Samsung. Here in the mid lane, bottom lane going to take some time before they can push it in, because there's a huge minion wave pushing out on the side of XENICS. But Samsung now over 10k gold lead, over, not over, but 10 kills ahead exactly, and 4 stacks of Dragon. It's just a matter of time before they get 5 and finish the game here against XENICS, which would mean Samsung secures their spot in Champions Summer this year. So this means a lot, so they're probably just going to play it patiently and secure that spot. And after today, I don't expect to see first pick LeBlancs anymore often, until, you know, balance changes come through. Just even under, like, I'm trying to force myself to understand why they would have done this, like the whole, okay, well, she's going for know, she can adapt into this AoE build. She can push, she can split push with that Luden's Echo and distortions. She can try to poke and just, you know, split the damage among everyone so that Jinx can just go off with the Super Mega Death Rocket and then her passive to clean up the fight. That's all cool, but that means right now you're not a high threat to the enemy CC, which means all the CC jumps onto Lunar. It just isn't really working out too well, especially against the champions that Samsung picked. So I'm still a little skeptical. But who knows, maybe they'll have some crazy play that lets them come back and win this game. They need about 5 of those to win the game, but you can never give up in League of Legends. I mean, who knows? Maybe Fury has to go eat dinner. Oh, wow, a nice trade, but Ace goes forward. And a battle of pride for the mid laners. Lunar is doing some good damage from the outside, but against who? Just Eve. Meanwhile, Fury gets drawn back in after exhaustion. There's a Glacial Prison. Fury gets eliminated by Kakarot. Now it's Lunar's time to shine. He's chasing through. QV needs to be slowed so that Lunar can catch up. He does get flayed back, and there's another kill for Lunar. Actually, it's going to go over to Shaft with the shutdown gold. But with Ace gone, they could... It's the flip side, right? XENICS can now focus all of their efforts onto Fury. It works out in a very similar way, except that Ace just generally has more impact than Candy overall. And now XENICS trying to push through since they have their AD carry. And it is Jinx, so they should be able to take this really quickly. Shaft just tanking that tower so that their minions can continue to push through and catch up. There they are. Can they go over for the inhibitor turret too? Ace is up in 5. They need to take it very quickly, and Jinx does exactly that. Can they take the turret? Probably not the inhibitor itself. Eve going really low. He gets knocked up. More damage coming in for Lunar, but here comes Ace trying to chase Lunar away, but Kakarot will help finish that off. Gives the kill to Lunar. Lunar's passive now activated. There's the death sentence falling all the way through on Ace. Ace is still able to blink out. Pretty low cooldown on that ultimate. He's still coming through, but a lot of damage from Lunar. He's still at health. Pretty healthy state. Here comes Candy from the side. Ace, watch out. He dies to the ult. Distortion. Fury gets knocked up after using the Mikhails, and Fury's going to get caught from the spell shield. Still living. Double kill for Fury. Kakarot gets blocked back. Fury's still alive. QV trying to come in and save Fury. Fury lives. Kakarot now being chased out by QV. What a save by Hecarim and Alistar. And Shaft still, that smite does not do damage. Just a debuff. And so the kill goes to an execution, but Kakarot can't do anything. Fury the hero, along with QV. And, ran into the wall there. Kakarot gonna be slowed down a little bit by QV, but this is basically a battle of the giants, and it's not really gonna go anywhere. That must be so annoying for Kakarot. I mean, it's like, you're not really hurting me, but you're just... Meanwhile, Fury. Yeah, QV's like, I know. Whatever. Fury gonna take the inhibitor for Samsung. What a team fight. I mean, good flank by Candy, but I think Fury also just correctly targeted Candy as soon as LeBlanc showed up in front of Sivir and then picked up that kill. And if Samsung gets this dragon, which they will be at 5 stacks, and then Baron will be up in 45. Samsung might just show up with 5 stacks of dragon and a Baron buff to finish off the game. No issues, no questions asked. And so XENICS now trying to set up around Baron themselves first. And top lane being shoved in. XENICS needs to either take Baron or like ace Samsung before. Candy gets spotted, so they know at least LeBlanc is there. Samsung looks really scary. They're gonna ward over the wall. It's a very tense moment. Because, yeah, I mean, there's a 10k gold difference, but if Lunar stays alive, longer than Fury, XENICS could turn the team fight around. QV gets caught, not the target they want. That's the other thing, though, is that most of the targets you're not too eager to jump all in as a team from XENICS once the death sentence goes on. It's like Nunu, pretty tanky. Hecarim, pretty tanky. Kassadin has his Onias. Alistar has his ultimate. It's like you don't want to all in. And Samsung now, they just swapped positions. I mean, XENICS gave up all the advantage they had in terms of positioning and vision here at Baron. There's a teleport coming in from Kakarot in the pit, and they're going to try to just keep XENICS at bay. Candy is already really low. Fury goes ahead and gets a double kill. Fury just going at it in his team fight as he charged forward. Ace blinks forward to finish off Candy in this game. And XENICS just running away towards Samsung's base. And Wraith just going to stick next to Kakarot to make sure he can't port back home. And Kakarot's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. Wraith's like, I respect that. I can respect your dance. And accepting that Samsung will finish this game. Samsung will win 2-0, having a 4-0 game record today. And securing their spot in Champion Summer 2015. Congratulations to Samsung. Welcome back to Champions. We'll see you in the regular season. Same lineup from Spring comes back to fight back against the teams that gave them so many losses in the spring season. Will Samsung have a better showing in the summer season? Looks like they definitely brushed up a little bit on the big picture game, the macro here. But at the same time, against the top teams in Champions, they're also going to need to do a little bit better in the laning phase too, in my opinion. Especially Ace. Like, it's alright when you play things like Azir, it's okay, but other teams will punish you even harder if you have a weak laning phase. So we'll have to wait and see, but for now, we have one more best of 3 awaiting us, everyone. This does mean no tiebreakers, so bless my soul, but we are waiting for XENICS versus Prime. Who will secure the last spot for Champion Summer this year as we expand to 10 teams? Who will have a chance to battle against the legends such as SKT T1, GE Tigers, and CJ Entus? Who will have a chance to try to prove their merit against the established pros here in Korea? Prime or XENICS? We're going to find out in a best of 3 match after this break. Don't go anywhere, as we will return after a short break. Prime versus XENICS, all on the line. Best of 3 for the last spot in Champion Summer.